Record heat continues out west with temperatures reaching record highs through the middle of next week at least, and even longer. And in today's forecast, I'm going to talk about that and why I think it may continue towards the end of the month at the very least. So stick around for that. I appreciate y'all watching. Subscribe and like my video if you like it. Leave any comments in the comments below, and we'll get started with the forecast next. So as far as current hazards and current conditions here, we got rainfall coming on the onshore out west here on the northwest coast. Some snow going in the upper Midwest here and into the northeast, and some rain maybe in the Chicago area this morning. I have to look at the temperatures here, special weather statement. Possible temperatures near freezing in that area could lead to some ice this morning, right? Other than that, we have some frost products here in the southeast. That will likely be the last day for that. Up here we have a dense fog advisory in parts of Minnesota. Red flag warning in Wyoming for high winds and fire conditions out here. And we've been talking about this out west here, especially with the heat products, right? Extreme heat warning in two parts of California, Arizona, Nevada, and heat advisories along the west coast here as well, and extreme heat warnings with temperatures over 100 degrees into next week, right? And the northeast coast, we have some flood-related products here, also a special weather statement for elevated fire risk here, dry conditions, and some avalanche warnings and high wind warnings up here in Montana as well. Like I said, we have some flood products here on the west, right along the northwest coast with the moisture streaming on shore here. In that regard, we have excessive rainfall outlook, marginal risk here today along the Washington coast, much the whole coastline and interior Washington state, right? But not a high risk here, right? The total precip, you can see it here, maybe a couple inches of rain today. Into tomorrow, we still have that rain on the west coast here, and the excessive rainfall outlook, marginal risk as well tomorrow. But then going into day 3, we don't have anything else for the continental U.S. So pretty quiet in that regard. So this was issued yesterday. They'll issue another product today. This is the latest key messages for the March Western heat. Extreme heat warnings down here in parts of, like I said, on the current hazards. We talked about that a minute ago. Was the heat advisories and extreme heat warnings out west here, right? The temperatures approaching 100 degrees plus in the coming days into early next week. Earliest, and what this says here is temperatures will be 20 to 35 degrees above normal. Afternoon highs well in the 90s to 100s, which the earliest date of reaching 100 degrees here out west. So very hot. But again, we talked about this yesterday, was with the snow melt into the rivers here, don't try to go swimming. The water is going to be very cold. So don't try to do that. All right. So now we'll go into the day 3 to 7 U.S. hazards outlook here. Hazardous heat continues the 21st through the 22nd here. And then there's a slight risk of hazardous temperatures as we get towards the end of the month in this light pink area, right? And as that goes by the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, showing this ridge of high pressure out west here with pretty high confidence of above normal temperatures out west. Get a little bit further out, an 8 to 14 day outlook, pretty much the same thing here. With a high confidence of temperatures being above normal. So even into week 3 and 4, this is issued the 13th. It'll be updated again tomorrow, but it shows most of the continental U.S. being above normal as far as temperatures go. So how long is this heat going to last out west here? I know I talked about this a lot, but you can see starting with the European Ensemble model, right? We're going to go through the different ensembles, which consist of different members that together to give a mean average, right? So the European Ensemble has 50 members, 51 members, or 50 ensemble members. The GFS has 30. And we're also going to use the AI ensembles as well, which are relatively new, but we're going to use all these to compare the temperature anomalies. So out west here, we have the temperature anomalies at the surface Reds, oranges, whites indicate uh, above normal, and the greens, not reds, blue indicate below normal temperatures from, what you consider normal for this time of year. So anyway, that's the explanation for that. And so starting off with this, you can see pretty clearly here above normal temps, 15, 20, maybe 30 degrees above normal, pretty much everywhere west of the Mississippi River. East of Mississippi, just slightly below normal, right? Is the European ensemble, and you see the bright colors showing up out west here. Even in the east, it moves to the east here over time. This is 3 days from now, okay? So it flattens out some, a little bit here. Then maybe a cold front pushing through along the eastern seaboard. And then the bridge builds back in again. The only places that really get relief from this are the northwest coast and along the eastern seaboard and northern to the U.S., right? So, and this is almost to the end of the month. Maybe flattens out again briefly and then builds back in again, at least according to this, right? So, repeated rounds of cold air intrusions on the east coast and persistent heat on the in the west, right? And this is going to be they're going to lead to a lot of snow melt out here. And we get towards the 1st of April, and it becomes more uncertain at this point. But overall, the trend is above normal temperatures for most of the continental U.S., right? So the GFS ensemble, remember I said 31 members here. Not quite as much resolution on this model, but still, you can see the bright red colors here. Out west, even in the east, it's even more intense here. And once you bring above normal temps all the way up into Canada here, okay? And for most of the U.S., above normal temps through the 23rd and then down to the 24th, you get that cold front maybe pushing through along the eastern seaboard, ridge out west, just incessant heat out here, guys. And then return to some warmer temps again with another cold, maybe cold push along the eastern seaboard, right? And we get towards the end of the month, and that ridge is forecast to build back in again. Seems like it's going to be hard to get rid of this. All right, so this is the 2nd of April here for the GFS model. Canadian model shows the same thing. Ensemble members, right? I don't recall the number of members in the ensemble, but anyway, this is an ensemble from the Canadian model, and you see the above normal temps for most of the continental U.S. and some cold air pushing to the east occasionally, and maybe the ridge breaking down a little bit according to this model as we get towards the end of the month out west here, but building back in again. So very persistent ridging out west still. European AI model shows the same thing. Cool temps in the east to start and warming up for most of the U.S. and some cold air pushing in along the eastern seaboard. And this is the first model I've seen that pushes down towards the end of the month, gets a cold push down here into Texas and pushes the ridge out to the west. We'll see if how this evolves, but stronger cold front, it looks like, right? But eventually it warms back up again for the most of the U.S., at least according to this ensemble. And lastly, this is the GFS AI model. And again, hot temperatures out west here. Flattens out some in the east coast. Warm temperatures build back east. So what's the pattern look like as far as at the surface here? In general, we got systems moving through the northwest flow that be impacting the northeast and the extreme northwestern U.S. with, and you see these lows generally moving in the northwest flow, right? And that ridge wants to stay firmly in place here out west. And so this will prevent a lot of moisture from reaching the desert southwest or the southeast, right? With this northwest flow here, keeping the Gulf of Mexico closed here. So anyway, you see way up in the canyon, we got these systems, right? And we get towards the end of the month here, maybe the ridge breaking down, right? But northwest flow looks very persistent here. And then we get pretty uncertain here. We get to the first part of April with maybe the pattern breaking down out west here some. So what's the total precip look like with the GFS? Here's a total moisture, right, associated with the GFS model going towards the end of the month, right? And you can see here the QPF, right? This is the total precip. Quantitative precipitation forecast, right? That's a technical term, right? So you can see where the highest amounts are on the northern fringes of the continental U.S. and the Canada, parts of the Northeast and the Northwest coast, and parts of Florida here, and parts of the central part of the country here. But out west here, dry as a bone. So that just echoes all the other things we've been looking at with the heat-related products. Surprisingly enough, the European is pretty much showing the same thing with the precipitation, right? We have precip streaming in the northwest coast here. Uh, Total QPF, right? Quantitative precipitation forecast, maybe into southern Florida, parts of the Ohio Valley, Mississippi Valley, and the Northeast really are only going to be the only ones looking to get more, a high precip amounts, right? And I don't want to go any further out than this because it becomes so uncertain here. This is 10 days out, right? Even then, not showing a lot out west here. So we're going to have a real problem with wildfires, if nothing else, besides the heat-related products here. And I was going to show the flow pattern with the European, but because this looks very similar to the GFS as far as precip, it's really not worth showing because you can see where the pattern is centered here along the northern tier of the U.S. with some maybe intrusions in the central mid-Atlantic to the Ohio Valley, Mississippi Valley, but very not very conducive for severe weather. And we'll talk about that briefly here in a second. So as far as general thunderstorms, we have this chance of general thunderstorms here in Ohio Valley tomorrow with a short wave moving through here, tail end of a cold front down here in Florida, maybe bring to some convergence right along the Florida coast, general thunderstorms, right? And then here in the Tennessee Valley, Atlanta area, northern Alabama, we could have some thunderstorms as well as a disturbance moves through this area. But overall, no severe weather expected beyond that for the next 8 days. So very quiet conditions, severe weather-wise. But that's about it for today, guys. I don't have much else to talk about other than the heat out west because that's really the only main thing that's going on right now. So I hope you'll have a great day. Take advantage of the quiet, relatively quiet weather. And if you live out west, stay safe, stay hydrated, and, heed the local warnings and avoid strenuous activities in the middle of the day.